George Applegate. I'm retired. I'm the former um, Executive Director for the Big Island Business Bureau. It should be called the Hawaii Island Business Bureau because we're not the Big Island, we are Hawaii. And very proud of it. Little background, I was born and raised over here. I began my tourism experience down the street at the Hukila Hotel. It was summertime. Helped open up Biltmore in Honolulu. And then later on I moved over to this hotel, the Hawaii Naniloa Hotel. And worked here since 1966 to 1987. I started as a bellboy and I ended up as the Director of Sales and Marketing. I left, became a tour guide for a while, and then I came back and ran the Business Bureau. And I'd like to share my thoughts about all of this. You know, Hawaii is not a sun destination. It's so much more. The world is full of sun destinations. But we have this special magic called the ALOHA spirit. And it in itself has a big history. I think I probably need to come back to that history about the plantation camps and how it began. But as far as tourism in Hilo is concerned, you know, we became a state in 1959. And Hilo was the largest city at that time, second largest city in the state of Hawaii, the new state of Hawaii, which is only less than 5 years old. And the city governing fathers decided that they wanted to embrace the visitor industry and not just have sugar and military. They saw after the war, they saw tourism flourish in Oahu, and they wanted the same. So they came up with a master plan to build approximately 3,000 max hotel rooms in Hilo and start a new gateway to the state of Hawaii. Fly into Hilo. A few days here, you go to Kona, you fly to Maui, you go to Kauai, and you go out of Oahu back to the mainland, and vice versa. Arrive in Honolulu, reverse, and leave out of Hilo. So Hilo was supposed to be the second gateway, and they put a big resounding period by building a huge $100 million plus international airport here. So in the early days of Hilo, we had flights from Japan, Japan Airlines, World Airways, we had United, Pan Am, Western, Continental, America West. I might have forgotten a few. And we flourished. We went up to about 2,200 rooms in Hilo. Then all of a sudden, after 1976 United Airlines pilot strike, things began to unravel and fall apart. And in looking back, I realized that we made one fatal mistake. We wanted tourism, but the tourism or visitor industry was looking, they was all from America at those days. We didn't have big international travel. And those people wanted fun in the sun. Well, Hilo has got a beautiful rocky coastline, a couple of small beaches, flowers, fresh air, beautiful waterfalls and streams, the Hawaiian culture, the everything plantation culture, and the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, which is now a World Heritage Site. And that's not what they're looking for. So throughout my years as a Business Bureau Director, I watched other destinations, fun destinations grow. Even on our island, Kona began to expand, grow, become very successful, so they moved the airport from Hilo to Kona. Then Maui did extremely well, so did Kauai, of course Waikiki. Now what's interesting is today, if you look at the big picture of tourism in the world, you realize that although we now have hundreds of thousands of beautiful resorts and black sand beaches in the world, that the buzzword, the new buzzword that you hear over and over, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, you hear the word green, sustainable, you have this big urge to take good care of Mother Earth. And in Hawaiian we have our chance to speak to that too. And pristine, we have more interest in families, family values. And if you look at it that way, all of a sudden, you know, everybody's headed this way. And here's little Hilo. And all of a sudden you turn this way around, and we're so far back, now we're in front, because there are not many places like Hilo anymore, you know. And Hilo is now a niche market. Now what gets me excited is the fact that the mayor, Billy Kimi, is very interested, and the county council are very interested in bringing back tourism to Hilo. We've got 26,000 employees riding the Hilian buses to the other side of the island to work every month. It's about 6,000 to 7,000 people plus those that drive. So if you're working all day long and you know, traveling, it's a 13-hour day, and if you stay in Hilo, there's not much work. So we're having a new generation brought up without our lifestyle that we were so proud of and still are. So what they're doing is redeveloping Hilo in such a way that we can have our ice cream, pie, and cake and eat it all too. So the plan for Hilo, according to the mayor, is to responsibly bring back some hotels, knowing that the demand for Hilo as a 2 or 3 night destination is without question. You know, people from West Hawaii and from the cruises and people that are flying for the day want to see the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, but they gotta do it in 3-4 hours, and that's ridiculous. It's like me going to Yellowstone or Yosemite for 3 hours. That doesn't work. So we're building the visitor plant for the 3- and 4-star guests that are staying elsewhere, so they can see the World Heritage Site, spend a few days, enjoy the beauty and the feeling of Hilo, you know, and then visit West Hawaii. So with that in mind, they're building this beautiful Naniloa hotel. It's being restored. I want to go back to a little history. I worked here in '66. In 1987, I left for a year, became a tour guide, and flew direct flights from Chicago and New York on World Airways into Hilo. This is a trend that started all of these things that we're talking about. Then later on I quit, came back to the hotel. But I worked here when this wing over here was being built. The main lobby was still part of the old building. And well, that was it. It was the biggest hotel in Hilo. And while I worked here, one of my employees came up to me and said, "Hey, I found a newspaper about Naniloa." He says, "You gotta look at this. You think the Naniloa would buy it?" So I went to the manager and asked if he would pay $5 for this. He said, "No, of course not." So I bought it. I gave him $50. He wrote a receipt, said, "Here, this is yours. And this is what I have." Okay, and this is what I'll give you to share with other people. But in this article, it was a special edition done in the Hilo Tribune Herald. In those days, it was called the Hilo Tribune Herald, dated February 18, 1940. Although the hotel had a soft opening in 1938. Now that's 11 years after the grand opening of the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. So this hotel has a lot of history and a lot of pride. I remember working here and meeting kings and queens and carrying the luggage for King Leopold of Belgium, met Spiro Agnew, John Burns, you name it. You know, Mrs. Nixon, we had a welcome for her, and she planted a tree in behalf of her husband, Richard Nixon. But in looking at this, it reminds me of the proud heritage we have and the interest in Hawaiiana now. Okay, so moving forward, as we develop Hilo, we are developing the visitor industry for one reason. We need good paying jobs for all people. We need each family to work one good job, have one good place of employment, earn enough money, and to live the American and Hawaiian dream with enough resources to actually buy a house or rent a house, you know, because today we see a lot of those properties going out to other people with money, and our rich become average, average becomes poor, poor becomes homeless, and that's a problem. So the mayor wants to fix all of that. So this is where we begin, restructuring Bannon Drive. We want to keep it in this area. Now, a lot of other places that you visit, you see change. Development starts, and before it's a runaway train, and all the entire personality of the whole area changes. And people say, it's no longer where I was born. It's not the same. So we want to focus our hilo on our culture. It's going to be the Hawaiian culture. And the Hawaiian culture will include other cultures that have merged into the Hawaiian culture. You know, I believe that the true aloha spirit was born in the plantation camps. First we had the Polynesians. They were 1,500 years ago. They sailed from the Marquesas Islands. Then we had the Tahitians. Then we had the arrival of the Western world. And then we had the immigrants coming. Before we knew it, we had a whole bunch of people here of different ethnic groups. In fact, when we had the sugarcane days, you know, each sugar plantation camp had a Korean camp, a Japanese camp, an Okinawa camp, a Filipino camp, a Chinese camp, Korean camp, whatever, to avoid social problems. Little did they realize, as we worked in the cane field, my grandfather was one of them from Japan, and little did we realize as we worked together in the fields and we shared the same foods, our ethnic foods, we created this thing called mixed plate. We learned to share, and I'll be done. The next generation, your son married my daughter, now you and I stuck. Like, now we related. And there's no difference. It was created in love. Your son fell in love with my daughter. They fell in love, had children. Now we're all people of Hawaii. So to me, that's the evolution of the aloha spirit. And I'm proud of it because we believe that the world should be like this. Not segregated, but all one people. Like in Hawaii, the foundation is Hawaiian. We're proud of that. But Hawaiian is more than just Hawaiian. It's all of us included. Okay? So what we imagine is having one of our dreams is to have a nice convention facility across the street. But we would, now Tommy Goy, I'm a friend of mine. I got to give credit to him. He came up with the idea that we should name it the King David Kalakaua Education Center, even if it will be a large partitioned facility where we can have the Merrie Monarch Festival, we can have conventions, we can have a lot of functions there, but we also want that to be a reminder of our proud past. For example, King David Kalakaua introduced Hawaii to the world. At that time, when he was king, you know, he was equal to the President of the United States, the King of Prussia, the Queen of England, the President of the United States. And he proudly traveled the world and introduced a wonderful culture to Japan and the vice versa. So I have in Humu Mo'olelo that I gave you, is a story of King David Kalakaua going to Japan and meeting the emperor. Long story short, that friendship flourished. Today there is between 500,000 and 1 million hula dancers in Japan. They learn from our kumus here. They come to the Merrie Monarch Festival and other festivals in the state of Hawaii. But what I think George Naopi said it best. He says, you know, once you become a very accomplished hula dancer and a kumu, where do you go? You know, it makes me sad that there are no real big paying jobs. You know, it's not a career that you can count on. It's just the pride of learning the hula and what it represents. So he started bringing people, dancers to Hawaii, and starting with his halau, and he take them to the place of the song. For example, Hi'ilave, he take them down to Waipio Valley, and you sit down and close your eyes. You feel the mist of the falls, the water on your face. You hear the thunderous sound of silence in the valley. Listen to a ku'u flying. Listen to the whinny of a Waipio wild Mustang. And you learn the hula. And we believe that this could be the center of hula, not to take away from other destinations in Hawaii, but where students can learn the hula by coming back to the sense of place and learning from our kumus here. And we feel proud of the facility. And this means we have tourism, we have jobs, but the place does not change. And that is so important to us. So we're very cautious on how we develop this. And I like to say that myself personally, I'm so proud of the Naniloa and Mr. Bushore and Mr. Olson and Helen Koo and other members for taking a leap of faith and putting the money where their mouth is and actually making it happen for Hilo. This hotel will be brought back to its grander days. It is fantastic. We'll be having about 380, maybe more rooms. It'll be a 4-star hotel. It'll be a DoubleTree, and it'll be first class. But it'll be welcome to a local community. There's probably more, but I gotta think. Oh, another thing too. You know, during my tenure as executive director, I travel around the world, and I help John Kekoa and his the Canoe Association, and the County of Hawaii, of course, Billy Kino. I was part of that, where they brought the world canoe races to Hilo. And that was awesome, and I met some high-ranking royalty from Aotearoa, you know. And so years later, I went to New Zealand or Aotearoa and went to the Library of History, and I found the book, the Discovery of Aotearoa by 7 canoes that came from the land of Hawai'i. Now, I don't know if they meant this Hawai'i or other parts of Polynesia, which is all Hawaii. I learned something really valuable a long time ago when the Hokulea first was built. What's his name? You gotta cut this part out. Herb Kani was one of the founders of that. And they brought the canoe to Hilo, and all summer long we had kids board the canoe and learn about our culture and how to navigate by the stars, you know. And one day I asked Herb, I said, Herb, what does Hawaii mean? I'm out there talking about Hawaii, and I go to a big show, and this guy from Jeju Island has the word Hawaii in his Korean brochure. So I said, what is that English word Hawaii doing in Europe? He says, well, you know, Hawaii is so magical and clean and beautiful from inside out, outside down. He said, unbelievable. And so I put that in there to try to explain how beautiful Jeju Island. It's not Hawaii. I try not to say it's like Hawaii. I said, yeah, but it's not Hawaii. There's only one Hawaii. He said, yeah, you're right. So I came back, and so I asked Herb, I said, what does the word Hawaii mean? He says, well, you heard a traditional ha, breath of life, you know, whatever you hear, it's well documented. But he says, you know, for me, the true answer is I don't know. And I said, well, what do you mean you don't know? He said, well, let's put it this way. The name is so special. It represents the feelings and the concept of homeland, of all of us belonging. You know, and I said, wow. He said, for example, you have the Hawaiian chants, but if you listen to the older chants, you got a mixture of Hawaiian and you got some Tahitian, and it goes back thousands of years.